Okay, good evening, Blue Jay families. Thank you for joining us for the Hop on Board webinar series. My name is Shula Cooper. I work in the Student Transitions and Family Engagement Office, and part of my work is supporting families of Hopkins students, including communication, programs, and services. Tonight, I want to welcome all of our new Blue Jay families to the Johns Hopkins family. This is the fourth Hop on Board webinar in our series. And it's intended to help students and family get acclimated with Hopkins and answer your questions as you get ready to send your children to their new home away from home. All of the webinars in this series are recorded, and the recording will be posted on our website a few days after tonight's presentation. You will find the recording where you found the registration link, so it's on the same website. I will add the link to the chat as the presentation begins. In tonight's webinar, we have representatives from Johns Hopkins University Public Safety and our transportation services to share the extensive safety and transportation resources on campus available to your students. There is a Q&A feature at the bottom of the webinar. Feel free to ask questions throughout the entire webinar. We will do our best to answer your questions after the presentation is complete. If we are unable to answer your questions tonight within the time that we have allotted for this webinar, feel free to send us an email at bluejayfamilies@jhu.edu. I will add that email address in the chat as well. Now, in the chat, you'll see that we will be providing a list of websites and resources to assist you with future questions, along with emails for the offices represented today. Now, I would like to introduce Jerome Jackson, our Assistant Vice President of Public Safety.
Good evening, families. Welcome to Hopkins. I'm coming to you from Baltimore where it's a very balmy 93 degrees this evening. So we're experiencing a heat wave like most of the East Coast right now, but glad to have this opportunity to speak with you. I'm a native of Baltimore, so I take great joy and pleasure in being able to serve the families and students and community members of Johns Hopkins as your Assistant Vice President for Public Safety. I also come to have a rather unique perspective in that I have a student also who's going back to school in August, not at Hopkins, but at a different institution. So I definitely I definitely empathize with the situation you're in now, while handing over your student to an institution to take care of and keep safe. And we take that responsibility very, very seriously. Also, I have the great pleasure of sitting through sessions just like you're sitting through a session right now. I know a lot of information is going to come at you very fast, but we'll be sure to drop our website inside the chat. And on that website, you'll find all the information I'm going to relate to you tonight. Also, ways to communicate with my office should you have other questions as well. So we're going to talk about our public safety team. We use a rather layered approach. And by that, I mean, once you and your student get to campus, you'll see a variety of uniforms. And we can go to the next slide. You'll see a variety of uniforms that our team members wear. The first set of uniforms are our campus police officers and our campus security officers. We have them pictured together because they really work in tandem. These are the folks that are going to respond for calls for service. And you'll see patrolling and marked vehicles, segways, bikes, and other means of transportation all throughout campus. They will also be patrolling our residence halls and also our open spaces on campus as well. Our campus police officers do have the power of arrest. They are unarmed, and our campus security officers supplement our campus police officers, but do not have the power of arrest. And again, they work in tandem for all calls for service. We're very fortunate, and I think we're the only university that has a 24-hour behavioral health crisis response team. What that means is we have clinicians on duty, on call, and on campus 24 hours a day to support our students who may be going through a mental health crisis or may just be having a hard time and want to speak with someone. We know through experience and evolution of public safety that when a person is experiencing a mental health crisis, the best resource for that is a clinician and not just a police officer. So our campus public safety team works in tandem with our clinicians to respond to all calls for service involving the behavioral health crisis. It's a great team, and we're very fortunate to have them on campus. They've been with us for about 4 years now as they expand to all of our major campuses to include Homewood campus, Peabody campus, and now East Baltimore campuses as well. We also work in coordination with Allied Universal. Allied Universal is a security vendor who provides supplemental staffing for us. So those folks that you see there in the high-vis uniforms, those are the folks you'll see standing posts outside of campus. Also, they're the officers that staff the welcome desk in each one of our residential halls. They'll be all over campus. Obviously, you'll see them in that high-vis uniform. That's why we put in that uniform so folks can see them. And I know that's a lot of uniforms and a lot of information, but what I'll say is this: no matter who you make contact with from my team, we will help you solve the problem. What I mean by that is you don't need to worry about a person's responsibilities or roles or memorizing this information from this presentation. If you have an issue, any one of the folks that you see in this presentation can help you solve that problem. We have a no wrong door policy. So no matter what officer you approach, they'll get you to the correct resource. Don't worry about directing them or directing your student to the proper resource. We'll help them walk that path. We also supported and work very closely with Baltimore City Police Department and Baltimore City Sheriff's Department. We have Baltimore City officers and Baltimore City sheriffs who work for us in an off-duty capacity. What that means is they are casual employees of Johns Hopkins, and they utilize our vehicles and work with our officers and provide our armed component of our public safety deployment. You'll mainly see them on the outskirts of campus and also what we call a campus adjacent, and the community along the St. Paul Street corridor, the Charles Street corridor, and University Parkway. That's their primary focus of patrol. We're fortunate to have a 24-hour communications center, and it looks just like it's pictured in the picture. It's as it's depicted in the picture. Lots of camera screens, also manned 24 hours a day. Minimum staffing is about 3 people. That's to ensure that we have at least 2 people working at all times. This is a place where all our calls for service come into. Those folks who work there make the connection with all external resources, such as on-duty Baltimore City police officers, the fire department, Office of Emergency Management, and any other resource we may need to solve an issue or provide support to our students, faculty, and staff. The emergency number there is 410-516-7777 or 410-516-4600. Again, both of those numbers are acceptable to call. They're open 24 hours a day. You will never get a machine. You will always get a person that can help you solve whatever your issue is. But please remind your students in an emergency, they can always call 911. That's never the wrong answer to call 911. And we can go to the next slide. So what do you see in the slide of our blue light call center? We have about 115 to 117 of these stationed all over campus. The blue lights themselves are lit up in the evenings, and you can, from one blue light, you can see the next blue light. That's to provide a clear path or a safe path of travel all throughout campus. At each one of these stations, simply by pressing the button, you're connected to our emergency communications center that I just spoke about. Once that button is pressed, we know exactly where you are. We are having communications with you to help you solve your problem. We're sending resources directly to that location to support you. And that could be anything from a lost phone to being lost, to needing help, or to a medical emergency. That's why we have those stationed all the way across campus and inside of our parking garages as well. We have a deployment and network of over 1,000 CCTV cameras. Those cameras are monitored inside of our communications center by the folks that staff that. That number, the plus is there because that number is always growing. As our campus grows, we evaluate our camera coverage and determine where we need to add additional cameras to ensure that we have proper coverage of all the spaces in our campus. The one exception would be we do not have cameras inside of the personal areas of our residence halls. So the common areas, the doorways, that welcome stations, we do have cameras, but not on the floors where your students will be occupied, where their rooms are. So if you take nothing else away from this presentation, please take this down: publicsafety.jhu.edu. That is our one-stop shop website where you can find all the information from this presentation and a lot of other information. You'll probably find information about questions you didn't know you had at that on our website. But again, a lot of information there, a lot of safety tips, ways to contact our folks. Also, a lot of information on crime for those who are interested in crime trends and data. All that can be found on our resource. You also see a section about our JHPD officers who will be integrating to our public safety deployment this year. We have about 13 folks that are on staff now, and that range from executive team members to patrol officers. We really leverage technology to stay in contact with our students, faculty, and staff and visitors to provide them with up-to-date information about any emergencies that may take place on campus. And that can range anywhere from street closures to weather events to crime emergencies that happen on campus or near campus or adjacent to campus. Our three main mechanisms of communication are our mailing lists, an emergency alert text messaging system, and even sirens and a wailing system. For those of you that may be around my age, that wailing system is very similar to almost like ringing the bell at school. But instead, it's a notification system that we use to broadcast information for folks who may not be near a computer or near their cell phone to get the text alert system. A great feature is that these are also available to families. And I mention that because I've signed up for the emergency notification system at my son's school. And I often notify him about emergencies before he checks his messages. So please feel free to go to our website, follow the instructions to download it, that you can have the exact real-time information that your student has about our notifications. Another piece of technology we found great success with is the LiveSafe app. So essentially, it's an app that connects your student directly to our public safety team. Through that app, they can provide information. So if they want to provide anonymous information, they can do all their reporting of public safety incidents. They can also request an escort, whether that be a walking escort or a riding or a vehicle escort. They can do that strictly through the app. We really wanted to find a space to meet our students where they are. And we found that students really enjoy the flexibility of being able to communicate with us through an application versus making a phone call. Some students do call, but a lot of our students contact us through the LiveSafe app. There's also a feature where they can text directly with one of our emergency dispatchers. And it's a real-time text back and forth to provide quick information and also follow-ups. I'll say this, and I'll admit that I am slightly biased, but Hopkins is one of the most polite campuses I've ever had the pleasure to be on. And what I mean by that is if your student finds themselves that they've lost an item and can't find an item, typically it has not been stolen. Either a staff member or another student has picked the item up and sent it over to our lost and found. So after if a student loses something and they contact you, after you tell them that check the last place where they found it, have them contact us and come down to our lost and found, or call a lost and found to see if we have that item. We keep a very detailed list of items. We get everything from guitars to Apple AirPod Pros, to wallets, to laptops, to passports, lots of driver's licenses, lots of J cards. So if your student has lost an item, there's a high chance that it's at our office in our lost and found. Have them contact the lost and found desk. They'll check through our list of items and let them know they can come down and get it. The only thing they need to retrieve an item will be their J card, if they have it, or at least a photo ID, so we can identify who's claiming the property. And if you want to find us, our office is located at 3001 Remington Avenue. It's kind of what we call campus adjacent. It's probably about a 3 to 4 minute walk from campus proper. We're just off of campus. And in our office is where our investigative unit is housed, our administrative offices, lost and found, and we do a lot of training at that office as well. Our investigative unit is really a supportive unit. They support students who have been victims of crime or students who need assistance navigating the criminal justice process here in Baltimore. Everyone that's a member of that unit has served in some capacity in law enforcement in Baltimore or Baltimore County. So they're intimately familiar with the criminal justice system and able to walk students through that process. Even if the student does not want to be involved in the process, but simply wants an explanation of how it works, those folks there can do it. And again, feel free to reach out to my team anytime. Again, we are your public safety team, which includes families. So please contact us, visit our website, and I will turn it over to Nelson.
Thanks, Jaron. My name is Nelson Greenlee. I'm the transportation manager on the Homewood campus. I wasn't born in Baltimore. I'm not from Baltimore like Jaron, but I got here as fast as I could. As I mentioned, my primary capacity is manager of services out of the Homewood campus, covering Homewood and Peabody. First things first, we offer a pretty robust system of transportation options, vans, buses, on-demand services, fixed route, that'll get you all around campus and adjacent areas free of charge. You know, your student will never have to worry about coming up with a fare or anything like that. These services are all free of charge. The services that transportation runs out of the Homewood campus are, as I mentioned, robust, and we start at 6 in the morning. We go all the way through to 2. We run primarily fixed route services in the day, and then in the evening dark hours, we switch over to on-demand services. Nice little graphic of our Blue Jay shuttles. This is great right here. I'm going to be telling you a lot of information, and it's really hard to explain a route map or a transit timetable on a webinar. So jot down the email there. You can always just Google JHU Transportation. All of our route maps, our timetables, our services are all available on our website. We have a great page with additional resources as well that explains other services in the city and how they can connect to our services, as well as how to get out to BWI and other areas. So as I mentioned earlier, we have services that are split amongst the daytime and the nighttime. In the daytime, we run primarily fixed route. That's a bus that has a stop, and you go to the stop and so on and so forth. One of the primary services we run is called the Jimmy. It's the Homewood Peabody East Baltimore connector, the medical center connector. It's the bus line, the one with all the pictures here that has JHU painted on the side. That's what people think of when you say the Jimmy. That bus runs from 6 a.m. until 1 a.m. and it has over 190 departures in a day. So during peak service, you really don't even have to wait more than 6 or 7 minutes to catch a bus. The express shuttles we run are shuttles that originate at the Homewood campus and go to specific JHU connected properties or facilities. For example, there's an express shuttle that runs from the Homewood campus and goes to the Bayview Medical Center. There's one that goes to the Mount Washington Conference Center. We've got one that goes down to the Cary Business School. These services run through the day, Monday through Friday, and like I said, they connect JHU properties. We also have quite a large variety of route vans that service areas proximate to the Homewood campus or the Peabody area. Our Keswick Eastern Shuttle connects those properties. We have the Remington Shuttle. We have a very popular Hamden Shuttle that services the Hamden neighborhood just adjacent to the Homewood campus. Again, these are shuttles that allow you to get around the direct environs of the Homewood campus. Again, Monday through Friday, daytime hours, starting between 7 and 9 in the morning, usually running till about 5 in the evening. At night, we switch from a primarily fixed route model to an on-demand model. We call it our Homewood Night Ride program. So the night ride, a lot of people, I guess, colloquially call it the Blue Jay. The Blue Jay shuttle. It begins at 6 in the evening and it runs all the way until 2 a.m. and we'll service requests that come in at 1:59 a.m. We use the Transloc app for this service to book rides. You can always call our dispatch office and book a ride over the phone, but I think about 98% of our ride requests come through the app. If you don't remember anything from this webinar, just have your student download the Transloc app. We house all the information for our daytime routes and all the booking information and zone area information in that app for the night ride. anyway, they can request a ride with Night Ride. And what we'll do is it's a shared ride service. So we'll send a shuttle for them. It'll usually pick up a few more people and then it'll get them to their destination. We do prioritize picking people up over getting them to their destination super quickly. So because it is shared ride. So what we'll do is we prioritize minimizing the wait time rather than the ride time. That being said, though, we get folks in about 12 to 15 minutes most of the time, get everybody in 20 minutes. And then we try to keep our ride times below 20 minutes. If our shuttles are too busy, if we've got a high amount of demand, what we'll do is we will cancel that ride request and send a free lift to your student to complete the ride. There's one night route too that we offer as well. We call it the grocery getter, the Giant night ride route, and that services the Giant right approximate to the Homewood campus. So night ride again is available 6 p.m. to 2 a.m. There is one main bus line that Jimmy does run, like I said, until 1 a.m. So you can kind of use them in conjunction. This is a map of the service area here. The little black area in the middle there is the Homewood campus. It's the campus there. And then the blue area represents the extent of the service area. You know, as we get requests over the years, you can see it's morphed and changed a little bit, but it goes all the way from Cold Spring in the north down to Pratt in the south, almost to downtown there. So it's a really robust coverage area. Like I said, we really prioritize your wait time, trying to get folks picked up quickly and get them on their way quickly. As I mentioned earlier, one of the if you take nothing away, please look at that Transloc app. That's where all the information for the systems, all the offerings, all the timetables, all the routes, everything we have can be found in that Transloc app. And finally, there are many other transportation options. A lot of them are complementary to what we offer in our department. The Collegetown Shuttle is a free option that can get your student north of town there to other universities, Loyola, Notre Dame of Maryland, all the way up to Towson, actually. The Charm City Circulator is another great option that is offered by the city of Baltimore. It's another free option, and their routes are quite complementary to the services that we offer. There's information on our website about all these, as well as, like I said, airport transportation, train transportation down to Washington, D.C. And finally, we also offer minivan rentals to students and student groups after they pass a qualification and training. That is something we also have. We have a rental pool of a small rental pool of minivans for folks that have extracurricular activities that take them away from the Homewood campus. And that's my offerings, Shula.
Thank you so much, Nelson. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here so we can see everyone. And we have Jerome back with us as well. And I encourage you all to put your questions in the Q&A. We already have a few. I'm going to start going over them. But just as a quick note, all the slides that we saw today are going to be available on our website. Again, that is the same webpage that you registered for this webinar on. So the same place that you clicked register will have a little link to the presentation. And with that, we're going to move into the Q&A. I'm going to ask the first, how do students request transportations? Nelson.
Great question. If you're looking to get an on-demand shared ride Blue Jay shuttle in the evening, you would want to just go to that Transloc app. You'll see our services in the on-demand portion of the app, and it's almost like booking an Uber or Lyft. You just press a button, you say where you are, you say where you want to go, and as long as you're within that service area, the request goes through the system to our dispatchers, and then they will assign you a van. As I mentioned, when the system gets really busy, we will take those rides and we will kick them over to Lyft and send a Lyft to the requester on the house. For daytime services, if you wanted to just ride one of our fixed route vans during the day, I would go to our website first to understand where they pick up and look at the schedule, look at the timetable, understand when they're picking up. And then you can go to the bus stop and wait for the bus there. Again, those routes are also available in Transloc as well under the fixed route tab. You can see all of our offerings there. And we are listed as Johns Hopkins Campus Shuttle in Transloc. That's the agency that we are, and that's where you'll find all of our options.
Thank you. We had multiple questions that I can sort of sum up with, again, for you, Nelson. In terms of outside of the city, areas like Towson or BWI Airport, what are the options for students as far as transportations go?
So the city of Baltimore runs a very robust transit system of buses and light rail. I would urge you to check that out if you wanted to go to far-flung areas. To go to Towson, though, the College Town Shuttle is a great option. It runs right by the campus at Hopkins, right up Charles, and it runs all the way up to Towson and stops at those other universities I mentioned. It's free, and it's also housed in the Transloc app as well. They're a separate entity, but they use the same tracking technology. As far as going to BWI, we do get requests about that this time of year. We find that it's pretty well served, again, with public transit. I would check out the City of Baltimore public transit page. Also, there are private providers and Lyft and Uber. It's not very far away from the campus.
Thank you. A safety question, Javon, does each building on campus need student ID to tap in, and how does that process work in terms of accessing it?
Yeah, now I'll just say I'll take a step back and say that you heard me use the term J card before. So a J card is what we refer to as a student ID, and that's where you students swipe into. Particularly of interest for this conversation will be the residence halls, where each student would need to swipe into the residence hall. They also need to sign into their guests that are visiting them inside that residence hall. Not all the buildings are J card accessible during the day, during the school day or the academic day. I should say that our buildings are accessible, and in the evenings they are locked and they have to be swiped in a J card and make access. So if your student is studying late or has a late class, they will have to swipe into their academic buildings and into the residence halls to gain entry.
Thank you. Another question. I think there's a few more questions about the Transloc app. Nelson, if you can maybe give us a few more words about how that works and how students can access it.
Sure, you can go to the Google, I think it's the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, and just type in Transloc. That's where you'll find it. Once you got it on your phone, you can pull it open. Again, our offerings are found under the agency Johns Hopkins Campus Shuttle, Johns Hopkins University Campus Shuttle. There's a tab at the bottom that has all of our fixed routes, and then there's a tab at the bottom that has on-demand options, and you can scroll through those options to see which service it is that you're looking for. The night ride, for example, if you were to do it right now, the night ride is active. You'll see that as a bookable option. That's where you'll find them. You'll go to your respective Play stores for the device that you have and then download that application. There's a web browser too. You can go to transloc.com and look at it as well. There are links to how to download the app and how to open the web browser on our website, on the transportation website for Johns Hopkins. You can go there and find more information about that. There's also troubleshooting tips for how to pull up the specific service and how to book a ride as well.
Thank you. Javon, a question for you. We have students who are coming to Hopkins from a lot of different places, a lot of different areas. Some are more rural, some are more suburban. What would you say are the most important safety tips to keep in mind for students who are transitioning to life on campus in Baltimore?
Yeah, really great question. We get that pretty often, pretty frequently. The easy part about that is, safety tips are the same no matter where you are. The environment may change, but the safety precautions you should take should be the same. And I know there were a few questions about tips. So I'll try to incorporate some of my answer to address some of the questions that were asked. But one of the most important tips that I can provide is to have conversation with your student about using the available resources. Hopkins has a lot of resources. Nelson is here. talking about transportation, they're available for your student. Have them research the resources, know how to use them well before they need them. I call it building a bridge before you need it. That way, it's not once they're out there trying to discover how to have a resource to get back to campus, they already know. Along that same route, also talk to your student about planning their outings. Knowing how they're going to get where they're going, what they're going to do while they're there, more importantly, how they're going to get back. And if there's an emergency, how do we get back to campus quickly? Two other pieces. We used to have what we called a Road Scholar program. We found that a lot of students were distracted by devices while crossing the street. And I think in terms of rural versus urban environments, the traffic density is a lot higher in an urban environment. Some folks are not as friendly when it comes to driving or giving the right of way to pedestrians. So we're really just having conversations with your students about not being distracted by devices, whether it's a cell phone, whether it's music, whether it's studying, whether it's an iPad, just not being distracted when they're moving in the city of Baltimore and on campus.
Thank you. We have a question. I mean, this is pretty basic. That's a free one for you, Jerron. Is there is there a public safety area on campus that students can access easily? Is there a physical location?
Yes, our headquarters or our office is located at 3001 Remington Avenue, and that's where my team works out of. And just as a reminder, my team works 24/7. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do not change our deployment strategy in terms of whether that's an academic year, whether it's a summer. Our entire team works all year long. So that's rain, sleet, snow, storms, summer, winter, fall. My entire team is working every day, 24 hours a day. The total team is about 1,300 folks across all of our campuses. So it's pretty robust, right? And we support and supplement each other. We also share information about trends that we're seeing, that we're prepared and can provide the best resources to students, faculty, and staff.
Thank you. I'll give you a break for a moment and go to Nelson. Nelson, if family members are visiting from out of town, do they also have access to the Blue Jay shuttle services? Can they ride it with their student? Can they ride it without their student?
That's a great question, and I had just realized that I didn't cover that in enough depth. The services that we offer are open to Hopkins students and affiliates. Our fixed route daytime shuttles, you could probably ride that without your student. The nighttime shuttle, the on-demand Blue Jay home night ride, does require a Hopkins email to set up an account and book. So the student would have to book for the parents or have the parents with them. That's really how it needs to be. The parents should be with them. That's how we have set the system up. But to access the night ride, you do need to have a valid 10-digit phone number and an active Johns Hopkins email address.
Thank you. Is there, this is not exactly transportation, it's more related to parking, but Nelson, you may be able to answer this. Is there public parking on campus? If family members visit their student, can they park on campus?
They can park on campus. There are two major parking garages, the San Martin garage and the South garage. Most visitors use the South garage underneath the admissions building.
Thank you. Jerron, if and when students lose their J card, during business hours or after business hours in the middle of the night, over the weekend, how can they still access the building? Is there something available to them to be able to do so?
Yeah, and I would say J cards are probably the top 5 lost item that we get at public safety. So yeah, it's not like if, it's typically when. So in that aspect, we enjoy a very good partnership with our friends at Student Affairs and Residential Life, and they help support the student through getting access to whatever information or facility or resources that are associated with their J card. Whether that's getting a temporary J card to swipe into the buildings, the residence halls, the libraries, or getting access to their meal plan, which is associated with their J card. Our friends at Student Affairs can help them do that.
Thank you for that. Nelson, is the JHU providing transportation available all year round?
It is. It absolutely is. Yes, we run the routes that I spoke of run year round. We don't change the main bus schedule despite the academic season changing. In the summer, we still have demand. We run the night ride year round. The night ride only ceases to operate on university recognized holidays. So yes, the services are available. We have just a couple of semesters or constituent specific services that are designed for particular courses and particular departments, but other than that, yes, everything runs year round.
Thank you. Question about safety alerts. Jerron, you mentioned those. Do family members also receive the same safety alerts that students receive?
So yeah, great question again. So family members are able to receive those alerts, but they have to sign up. The students have to sign up as well. So if you visit our website, there are very simple instructions about how you can sign up and receive those exact same alerts that your student receives. And you'll have all the information that they have.
Thank you. Someone's asking if there's a digital version of J-Card. Yes, there is. You can add it to your phone. There's a way to do that through your wallet, I believe. There's an app that you can do that with. Let's see. Javon, in case of an emergency on campus, who should students notify if they find themselves in an emergency situation?
Yes, so again, like I said, the students are never wrong to call 911, but also they can contact our public safety office. That number is 410-516-7777 for emergencies. Obviously, our
Can
public
you
safety
repeat that again?
Sure.
410-516-7777.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we use sevens to try to make it easy to remember. Again, never wrong to call 911. They can also call our public safety team. Obviously, our public safety team is closer. We would love for them to call us so we can respond out and support the student in whatever emergency that they're having. Again, whether that's a medical emergency, lost property, or whatever type of emergency, let us come out and provide support. We can connect students to whatever resources they need to be connected to.
Thank you for that. We have a few questions about students who have internships throughout the city. I know a lot of them often have it in, at the medical center. So I guess this is a question for both of you. Nelson, what form of transportation can they take to the medical school or the medical campus? And Javon, what sort of safety tips would you give students as they are, going around the city on their internships?
So just to get there, the first service that I mentioned, the Homewood Peabody JHMI bus, is primarily designed to serve as the connector between East Baltimore, Peabody, and Homewood. That's the bus that departs with 190 departures a day. That connects all those locations. That's a great way to get over there. That's for JHU affiliates and students. Once you get over there, we run another on-demand service called the East Baltimore Blue Jay. So there's another on-demand service from the hospital that we run as well. And finally, there is actually a second transportation department in East Baltimore that runs a network of fixed routes to get you through the East Baltimore area as well. So there's plenty of transportation options once you get there, but the best way that I know of to get there is that Homewood Peabody JHMI bus.
And I'll say, just picking up from East Baltimore, we have a very robust public safety team in East Baltimore who are stationed at those transportation hubs, those points of transportation that Nelson was just describing. We also have very robust relationship with Baltimore City Police Department. And I'll say mostly executives on my team served in law enforcement in some professional capacity before coming to Hopkins. So we work very closely in terms of information sharing. And why that's important is that helps us develop what our deployment is going to be and information we provide to our community about crime trends we're seeing, not just on campus, but outside of campus as well. And that information can be used in decision-making and planning, especially route planning back and forth to internships, or even just exploring Baltimore.
Thank you. Nelson, if students are outside of the JHU shuttle boundaries, what transportation is available to them?
Outside of the boundaries, you're looking at private transportation, or you're looking at the city transport. Those are going to be your best options. Well, can't say best, but those are going to be your options. Like I said, we run a specific route network that tries to connect JHU properties and JHU campuses with the Homewood campus. That's primarily what we do.
Thank you. Jerron, there's a question about collaboration with Baltimore City officials. I think you just mentioned that a little bit, but can you give a little bit more information on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, and then just for folks that haven't seen, I think the nature of the question is, are we working with Baltimore City officials to really address like the root causes of crime and lower crime in Baltimore? And the answer is yes. Hopkins works robustly with the city of Baltimore in general, Baltimore city government, to fund and support and work with, provide academic research for a lot of public safety initiatives to include ROCA. We work hand in hand with Baltimore City Police Department to provide them with additional coverage, data, some of our video footage from our cameras that I discussed earlier, and also in our implementation of our behavioral health crisis response team. It's really has been a model for Baltimore City Police Department in terms of responding to folks who are in the throes of mental health crisis. So they're learning from us, we're learning from them, and we're all working together to make Baltimore a better place.
Thank you.
Shula, I'm sorry, if I could just add one thing.
Absolutely.
The question about being outside of the boundaries, I do want to make it clear though that we do evaluate our route offerings every year and our boundaries to make changes and include or change based on where we get a density of demand or requests and things like that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Shula, if you don't mind, I know oftentimes,
Yes.
and it's not always asked, but sometimes it is about in terms of weapons on campus, whether that be, knives or mace or things like that. And again, I can't stress enough that, as a family, that you get with your student and examine the weapons policy for our campus. It's pretty robust, and the long and short of it is that weapons are not allowed on campus, which is inclusive of replica weapons, prop weapons, and mace. But I think one of the questions was about the siren devices. We do encourage the use of siren devices. For those that don't know, those are devices that give off a high-pitched sound to kind of alert folks around that something is amiss, whether it's a crime or an emergency, but something is amiss and that person needs help. We do encourage the use of those devices.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? Oh, there's a question about lost and found. How long do things stay in lost and found before? So how long can you sort of claim them for?
Yeah, we typically keep things for about a year before we start exploring the process of disposing of those things. And that's because someone may lose something at the beginning of the academic year and really not realize they lost it at the end of the academic year when they're about to move out. So we typically keep all items for about a year, to include bikes. We get a lot of bikes for some reason.
Big thing to lose. Safety question. Are staff available to escort students late at night?
Absolutely, yes. And I frame it that way because we don't often get requests for that. And I think sometimes folks think, hey, it's just a quick walk, I'll be fine. But we rather you call us, request an escort, whether that's a walking escort or a vehicle escort, or give Nelson's team a call and have a transport. But yes, we can absolutely make sure you get to your destination safely.
Thank you. Okay. Question about access to buildings. So there's a difference between, you mentioned there's a difference between like academic buildings and residence halls in terms of card access. Can you speak more to that in terms of the systems that are in place and how they work?
Sure. So Hopkins is open campus. By that, we mean we encourage our neighbors to come enjoy our green spaces and other open spaces. However, open campus doesn't mean open access to every aspect of campus, right? There's some spaces we need to have safe and secure and only for our students, particularly the residence halls, right? Those are 24 hours, J-card access only. All guests and visitors must be signed in. Our academic buildings have some flexibility during the day because we have a lot of non-affiliates that participate in academic pursuits with our students. That changes at night to a more secure environment for those that are studying at night, those that are conducting lab experiments late at night, and that's why those buildings and spaces are J-card access only. A library, you have to sign in and provide some form of photo identification to come in and utilize the library, but we encourage our community members to use our library resources as well. And I'll just add that we have a pretty robust system of officers that are on foot patrols. And again, no matter the weather or the season, and those patrols also include inside of our academic buildings during the day.
Thank you for that. How do, if you're a student, how do I know when to call public safety as opposed to calling 911? Should I call for both just to be safe? Or which one should I call first if I'm calling both?
Yeah, I mean, both are great numbers to call. So whether a student is off campus and they call public safety, we're going to provide support. If a student is on campus and they call 911, Baltimore City is going to provide support. So neither is the wrong answer. If there was a rule of thumb, I would say if you're on campus, call campus safety first. And if you're off campus, call Baltimore City first, which would be 911.
Thank you. All right, any more questions? I see a few questions that are great questions, but are not necessarily the focus of today's conversation. So I will just say in general, any questions that you may have around the move-in process, we will be having a webinar specifically to address this later in the summer, closer to move-in. So keep an eye open for that and definitely sign up to participate. And other questions had to do with just general access to parking and admin things. So definitely we have we do have sessions on all those topics. So definitely feel free to join us for those. And if you can't join us on the day of the webinar, feel free to look for the recording on our website and view the slides after the fact. All right. Oh, we do have one more. If there's an issue within the residence hall with, a roommate, is this something that public safety is called for, or is there a different resource that should be accessed?
Yeah, great question. So it really depends on what the type of the issue is. Obviously, if it's a crime issue, please call public safety. If it's an interpersonal issue where, it might not be the right fit, two individuals as roommates, we'd ask your student and the family to work through our friends at Residential Life and Student Affairs to help get to the source of what that issue is and find some type of resolution. But the residence halls are staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a public safety officer. So if there's a question or a need or concern, your student goes simply to the welcome desk, contact that public safety officer, and we'll connect them to the proper resource.
Thank you. All right. Just included in the chat a link to our full Hop on Board webinars. So feel free to take a look at that and join us for one of the upcoming ones. Looking for any additional things. All right, I think that means that we can move to our closing. Thank you all of our panelists who've been so gracious with their time, and to our Blue Jay families for joining us tonight. We appreciate everyone who took the time to be here. Another reminder that a copy of this recording will be available in a few days on our website. That's jhu.edu/families. It is in the chat, but feel free to look that up in the same location where you registered for tonight's webinar. Again, that's the link that I just posted in the chat. One final note before we leave, your student will begin the required new student orientation program at 6:30 p.m. on August 17th, which continues until classes begin on Monday, August 25th. This means that your student will likely not be available to physically reconnect with you after this time. So we ask that families do not plan to stay in Baltimore during orientation week. It is a mandatory program for all incoming students. So just keep that in mind as you plan the end of your summer. And then just a reminder that our next Hop on Board family webinar will take place on July 9th at 7 p.m. Registration is available on our website, again, in the link that we just posted in the chat. So I'd like to thank our panelists again. Thank you, Jaron. Thank you, Nelson. And we will see everyone in the next Hop on Board webinar. Have a good night, everyone.